What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. It is Victory Monday, and I want to go ahead and do the post-game show for yesterday's game, where we did take on the Jacksonville Jaguars. We did get the victory over the Jacksonville Jaguars yesterday. This was our last home game of the season, so big ups to those Atlanta Falcons for coming out with the victory and giving those fans, our Atlanta Falcons fans, something to cheer for. We haven't won many games at home this year, but this was definitely a big win for our team and a momentum builder that we can continue to build after that win against the 49ers. So we're definitely on a win streak, and that's a positive thing. Even though we're not going to make the playoffs, this team is trending in the right direction. And Dan Quinn and these guys have done a great job. This coaching staff has done a great job with these players, and the players have done a great job of building for next year. But let me jump right into the video and talk about some things that I've seen in the game that I really liked. First thing that I want to talk about, the X factor in this game, Devontae Freeman. A lot of people are wondering, should we keep Devontae Freeman? Should we trade Devontae Freeman? Or should we just cut Devontae Freeman at the end of the season because of his contract? Personally, I don't know how all of the money works when it comes to those things. I'm not too familiar of salary cap. That's the word I was looking for. I'm not too familiar with salary cap and the cap hits and all of that. But what I would try to do, I believe we should try to keep Devontae Freeman. What I would do is see if we could restructure his contract, because I know he did get a $40 million deal or something like that. And I think he had like 25 guaranteed, or he had some big money guaranteed. So what I would try to do is I would try to restructure his deal. He showed me a lot yesterday in that game against the Jacksonville Jaguars, especially early on in the game. He was dominating. He was catching the ball out of the backfield. He had a nice turnaround, like over-the-shoulder catch, where he turned his body, spun his whole body around, great body control, and made a nice catch. He almost looked like a wide receiver catching the ball against the middle linebacker Payne that plays for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He ran like a nice little wheel route, but he had two early touchdowns. One, it was a toss to the left-hand side of the field, the weak side of the field, and he just took off up the field. It was great blocking up front by our offensive line. It was a wide-open, gaping hole, and Devontae Freeman showed me that he still has some of that breakaway speed or that home run hitting speed where if he gets a crease, he can take it to the house. And that was one of the things that I was really concerned with early in the season with Devontae Freeman is I didn't know if he still had that burst that he once had, and it still doesn't look like he has the same burst that he once had. But he showed me some burst, enough burst, where I think that we should possibly keep Devontae Freeman. Another thing, like I said, Devontae Freeman is definitely an underrated pass catcher. And he also did a great job yesterday of blocking for Matt Ryan on plays where he was in the backfield blocking linebackers and helping chip on defensive linemen. He did a really good job of blocking yesterday. So it was an A+ game to me for Devontae Freeman. He played an excellent game yesterday. He really showed me a lot. I feel like he was the X factor because early on in the game, he was a mismatch the entire game. But early in the game, he was really a mismatch in the passing game for those linebackers. And he still runs really hard. He had a couple of 18-yard bursts up the middle and over the up the edges. But a lot of his plays were called back due to holding. So one of the biggest things that I noticed about Devontae Freeman early in the season is it looks like I basically don't put it on Devontae Freeman of him not being, playing well. I really think it had more to do with our offensive line. And that's another thing that I want to talk about in this video. But I really think that the offensive line had a huge effect on Devontae Freeman. I talked about this early in the season in my video about why the Atlanta Falcons were struggling early on in the season. And I feel like one of the biggest issues with the Atlanta Falcons early in the season where we were losing in the trenches, and Devontae Freeman looked really bad because the offensive line, he was basically getting hit in the backfield a lot. It was not any creases, any holes for him to find. Freeman will be in the backfield bouncing around looking for, a crease, and he really didn't have any creases. But since Chris Lindstrom's come back, our first round right guard, him and Caleb McGarry are going to be special. Those guys are going to be very special offensive linemen. This is their first year, and both of these guys are really showing what this Atlanta Falcons team could have been if Chris Lindstrom could have stayed healthy this year. I feel like that's one of the biggest reasons that our record is what it is and why the Atlanta Falcons didn't make the playoffs this year. It was less about Dan Quinn. I feel like it was more about the trenches on both sides of the ball, but especially on the offensive side of the ball. It was numerous games this season that we lost where Matt Ryan was sacked numerous times. Against the Saints, he was sacked 9 times. And it was another game I can't pretty much pinpoint. I think it was against the Buccaneers where Matt Ryan was sacked a bunch of times as well. But it was a couple games this season where Matt Ryan was sacked 4 or 5 times, which is ridiculous in one game. But I really feel like if Chris Lindstrom could have stayed healthy this season, and I know you might say coulda, woulda, shoulda, but if Chris Lindstrom would have been healthy this entire season, I really think a couple of those games that we lost, we would have won, and we would still be in the picture of the wild card spot. Definitely competed for a wild card. Probably not for the division because the Saints kind of ran away with it at 12-3 or whatever their record is now. But we definitely would be right there in the mix for a wild card spot, I feel, if Chris Lindstrom could have stayed healthy early in this season. And I feel like that's one of the biggest things that derailed our season is injuries. But before I jump into talking about that, I also want to talk about Austin Hooper and Julio Jones. I told you in this game that Austin Hooper, Julio Jones will have big games again. And once again, Julio Jones breaks another record. The fastest wide receiver, I think, to 12,000 yards. So big ups to him. Him and Matt Ryan, man, they're just a great tandem. I had put on my Twitter they just make it look so easy, man. Matt Ryan and Julio, that connection, those guys just make the throw and catch so easy. It looks like it's pitch and catch pretty much anytime Julio Jones and Matt Ryan is on the field together. So those guys are definitely tied at the hip. And I feel like those guys are going to probably retire together because those two guys are like special players for our Atlanta Falcons. Definitely the best quarterback and wide receiver tandem that we've ever had on this Atlanta Falcons team, but in our franchise history. So big ups to Julio Jones. He did make the Pro Bowl once again this year, but big ups to him on yesterday's game. Him and Austin Hooper. Big ups to Austin Hooper. He's another breakout star this year for our team. He's been balling out ever since last year, for the last couple years, to be honest. But last year, he really stepped out on the scene and really showed that he could be a dominant player. And this year, he just took it a step further. And I would put him in the top 5, I'll say, in tight ends in the game, right there behind George Kittle and Travis Kelce and Zach Ertz. I'll put Austin Hooper right in that mix with those guys because he's definitely a special pass catcher. I really feel like what makes Austin Hooper special is he knows how to catch the ball with his hands. He does a good job of catching the ball with his hands away from his body. If you watch him, he doesn't do a bunch of body catches. He always catches the ball at his highest point, and he always extends his long arms to go out and catch the ball with those great mitts that he has, those strong hands that he has. And I really feel like he's a great compliment to Matt Ryan and Julio Jones and Freeman. Those guys are, I feel like we have one of the best offenses in the league and best weapons in the league. We probably have the best weapons in the league. Personally, I feel like we have the best weapons in the league when it comes out to the specialty guys, running backs, wide receivers. I feel like tight end. I feel like we have the best combination at those positions probably in the game, especially with Matt Ryan at the helm, Julio Jones, Austin Hooper, Devontae Freeman, and the stable of backs that we have now. I really feel like this offense is very special and this team is special. And like I said, they're definitely trending upward. Another big thing that I took away from this game, Brian Hill and Quadri Olson, both of those guys are really doing a good job of contributing. If for any reason Devontae Freeman is cut or traded for any reason, I definitely feel like Brian Hill can really be a starting running back in this league. I really think that he has a chance to step up. Him and Quadri Olson are two guys that complement each other very well because Brian Hill showed yesterday that he has speed, he has burst. He's another running back that can go, hit the outside. And Quadri Olson is continuously showing that he's a great option when we get to the short yardage downs, 3rd and short, and in the red zone. He's a bulldozer, man. In the red zone, he basically just bulldozed right through all of those Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday, and he looked good doing it for like a 2 or 3 yard touchdown. He just plowed ahead. And he reminds me a lot of, he's built kind of like Michael Turner, maybe a little bit lighter or smaller in weight to Michael Turner, but he puts me in the mind of a Michael Turner, short, stubby, and like a tree stump, and very hard to bring down. Quadri Olison, hard to stop his legs from moving when he's under a pile or when he's headed towards the end zone. He normally falls forward, and that's kind of like what a Michael Turner thing. Michael Turner, when we had him, you rarely seen anybody knock him back. He always played with good leverage, low to the ground, hard to tackle, big thighs, hard to hit him in the in the trenches, and when he's going in for a first down or a touchdown, hard to keep that body weight from moving forward, or it's hard to knock them type of guys backwards. So I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing out of Quadri Olison and the short snaps he's getting. And I've been very, very impressed with Brian Hill. And I was another one early in the preseason that was saying that Brian Hill could do big things for this team. But I really feel like that I want to have the three running backs, a running back stable. If we can keep Freeman, him, Brian Hill, and Olison, and continue to just let those guys mature under Freeman, because Freeman at this point in that running backs room is a veteran. And I prefer having a veteran in the room, and it's not just be a bunch of young guys in the running back room. And Freeman still shows that he has juice. If he can get a crease and get the offensive line to actually block for him, Freeman showed yesterday why he's the real deal. He's good at still juking guys. One of the best I've ever seen at juking guys in the open field. And he just does a great job of catching the ball. He's a full complete back, blocks, catches, and runs. So big ups to those guys. Big ups to Brian Hill, Quadri Olison. Those guys, keep doing your thing out there. I definitely think, like I said, those guys are also trending upward. And now let's jump over to the defensive side of the ball. Before I jump over to the defensive side of the ball, let me talk about the offensive line. I'll be remiss for not talking about them. But like I said, the offensive line, since Chris Lindstrom has come back, those guys are really gelling, and those guys are really playing well up front. They're keeping Matt Ryan clean. And this is what I've told you guys. If you can keep Matt Ryan clean in the pocket and give him time to throw and open holes in the backfield for the running back, open holes up for them to run through, this team, you're seeing the capability and the firepower that this team has. And this is all being done without Calvin Ridley being out there. Just imagine if Calvin Ridley was out there yesterday. The way Julio Jones was smoking those guys, I could just imagine next year with Calvin Ridley being back on that other side, with Austin Hooper controlling the middle of the field, him and Freeman running those option routes out of the backfield, and then you got Julio. I mean, you really can't double everybody. So it's going to be really, really tough to stop this Atlanta Falcons team. We're definitely an offensive juggernaut. And I've said that before. We have to figure out what type of team we are. And personally, I feel like this Atlanta Falcons team is definitely an offensive team. We're not a defensive team. We can play solid defense, but most of our money and most of our talent is on the offensive side of the ball. But with that being said, like I said, ever since Chris Lindstrom has come back for the Atlanta Falcons, I believe we're undefeated since him coming back. He came back last week, was his first week back, and ever since he's come back into the mix, we've been winning games. We beat the 49ers, who's the number one seed in the NFC. Then we turned around and we beat the Jacksonville Jaguars when everybody was saying we couldn't beat an AFC team, that Dan Quinn struggles against AFC teams. It just looks like yesterday we were the more physical team. We out physical. We won the trenches on offense and on defense, which really surprised me because Jacksonville Jaguars have a stout defensive line and a stout front seven, especially with Calais Campbell anchoring the middle of that defensive line, and Ngakoue coming off the edge, and Josh Allen, the rookie defensive end for the Jaguars. I really thought that they were going to have a chance to try to get after Matt Ryan, but the offensive line held up very, very well. I don't even remember Matt Ryan being sacked yesterday. If he was, he probably was only sacked maybe once or twice. So just an A+ game again for the offensive line. Great job by the total line. I know a lot of times we focus on Caleb McGarry and Chris Lindstrom because those are the new guys. But great job by Alex Mack. Great job by Wes Schweitzer. And great job by Jake Matthews. Big time game for them guys up front. They did their job, and that allowed Matt Ryan and all of those specialty players to do their thing. Now let's jump to the defensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, great play by Vic Beasley once again and Grady Jarrett on the front line causing havoc. I told you guys that Vic Beasley would have a sack or two in this game, And right on cue, he had another sack, which makes 8 sacks on the season, which leads the Atlanta Falcons team. So happy for him. Grady Jarrett, I believe, also had a sack in the game. And I think he's at 6.5 sacks or something like that on the season. So big ups to those two guys. And big ups to the total defense. Good job of controlling the line of scrimmage, controlling Leonard Fournette. Leonard Fournette did have some nice runs in this game, but he was limited. They didn't allow him to break away for no 30 and 40-yard gains. They did a good job of gang tackling because he's a very big guy, very strong guy. So we did a great job of getting multiple hats on Leonard Fournette. So they did a very good job of getting after Gardner Minshew. A couple of times I told you guys going in the game that Gardner Minshew is more mobile than he looks. And a couple of times he did break out and run the ball or break out and throw the ball down the field. But for the most part, our defense had them under lock and key for the most part of the game. They basically locked those guys up. DJ Chark, who I told you out of LSU, he had a pretty good game. But Isaiah Oliver and Kendall Sheffield, those guys are continuously improving. And that really impressed me, especially Isaiah Oliver. I'm seeing a lot of improvement out of him. He's doing a good job of turning his head around, a good job of locating the football and attacking the football while it's in the air at its highest point. So he did a great job. Kendall Sheffield is doing a great job when he's out there. All of these guys are doing really, really good job of communicating on the field and playing excellent football. And with that being said, I really do think at this point that Dan Quinn has saved his job. As I said before, I do think that he will be back next year. As well as the team has played down the stretch, I can't see or imagine Arthur Blank saying, you know what, I do appreciate you turning it, turn this thing around, but I want to go in a different direction. I can't see Dan Quinn doing that. And the reason I say I can't see Dan Quinn doing that, meaning getting rid of Dan Quinn, is because this team has dramatically turned things around drastically. And for a team to turn around in the last 8 games and win, 5 of the last 7 games and then possibly 6 out of the last 8 games, I don't see a way where Arthur Blank could ignore that, especially the way that these players talk about Dan Quinn of being an excellent coach and saying Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, all the leaders on this team backing Dan Quinn. I couldn't see Dan Quinn still saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and just let Dan Quinn go and bring in somebody else. I really don't see that happening. So I want to tell all of you Atlanta Falcons fans and whoever's viewing my, this channel or viewing this video, be careful what you wish for. All these people that's saying that they want to get rid of Dan Quinn and they want to get rid of Vic Beasley and they want to get rid of all these guys, Devontae Freeman, be careful what you wish for, because the media just needs something to write about. And a lot of the AJC and a lot of these different ESPN, all of these different outlets. I'm not trying to come from any particular outlet, but all of these different outlets out here, they have a job to do. And it's hard to write. They need something to write about. And it's not interesting writing about how this team is making a comeback. What's interesting to talk about is the next hot head coach coming out of college, like a Lincoln Riley or this who's being fired on Black Monday. Those are the type of the media clippings that the media needs. And talking about, all of the fans not coming to the Atlanta Falcons games and the season ticket holders being upset with how the season has turned out. All of those things are what, sell on TV, and that's what the media likes to push. They don't want to push how Dan Quinn is making, this team is fighting for Dan Quinn's job. They don't want to preach how Dan Quinn is turning this thing around. They just want to, negative sales. So they want to preach the negative, that Dan Quinn needs to be fired, that it's too late. What I want to know is, when is winning not good enough? When is the last time winning wasn't good enough? That's what really bothers me about the media. What bothers me about a lot of Atlanta Falcons fans that saying fire Dan Quinn. What I don't understand is, when we were losing, you were upset. Now we're winning, you're upset because you're mad about draft picks, or you're mad about it. We didn't start winning when you wanted us to win, or when you wanted the guys to start winning. But at the end of the day, all of these teams that the Atlanta Falcons are facing are professional teams. They get paid just like the Atlanta Falcons players get paid, and their job is to try to beat you every Sunday. And it's any given Sunday. I told one of those Saints fans that the game before we beat them after the bye, they were saying how they were going to blow us out. Same thing with San Francisco 49er fans. I told them the same thing before we played them, the week before we played them. I told them, look, it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday. Any team can beat any team at any point in time. So you have to be crossing your T's and dotting your I's. You can't take any game or any team for granted. And what I mean by that is you look at a lot of these teams that were doing well early in the season and now that are struggling, it's a lot of teams out there that was like came out the gate swinging, but now as the season has worn on, injuries and attrition has built up, meaning people are going to IR, people getting hurt. A lot of things can happen in the 17 week schedule. If you just look at the Seahawks, who were the number 1 seed going into yesterday's games, they lost to the Arizona Cardinals yesterday. And I know a lot of people and a lot of Falcons fans, when early in the season when we lost to the Atlanta Falcons, threw a hissy fit, threw a fit saying it's no way we should lose to the Arizona Cardinals. The Arizona Cardinals are trash and all of this. Now look at yesterday, Kyler Murray him and the Cardinals waltzed right into the Seahawks stadium, the Seahawks home stadium, the Link, Century Link Field, and come out with a victory. How much sense does that make? That's what I'm trying to tell you. At any given Sunday, anybody can beat anybody. All I want out of these Atlanta Falcons is to go in there, do their job, and get wins. I don't care who it's against. I don't care how much they win by, as long as they win. But you guys have to be, like I said, be careful what you wish for, because Dan Quinn is a special coach. He's a very good coach. Yes, it's taking him time to figure out what was wrong with the team. And I feel like the biggest adjustment period for this team and why it took so long is it was a bunch of new faces, new players trying to learn how to play with each other. It was guys being moved all over the field in different positions, like a DeMonte Casey, who had to go in and learn and work on the safety position. Moving Ricardo Allen down was another down to that strong safety role to help the linebackers and the defensive line with communication. All of the little small things. And I'm telling you, in football, coaching matters more than any sport. It really, really matters. In basketball, you don't need a great head coach. But in football, you need at least a very good head coach to be a successful team and a winning team. So like I said, all those Falcons fans out there that saying they want Dan Quinn gone and it's too late, even though he's turned things around, it's too late because the season is over. I would say, be careful what you wish for. I would digress on that, and I would definitely rethink that. But with that being said, those were the main things that I noticed in the game. And I was really, like I said, I was really pleased with watching the game. I'm pleased that these guys during the season haven't laid down, because it's easy when you're losing and when you have, as some people say, nothing to play for. It's easy to just roll over. But this team has been playing with great pride. They're playing like they're trying to get to a Super Bowl when this year is impossible for them to get there. But they're playing like one of the best teams in the league. The Atlanta Falcons are playing as one of the best teams in the league. So big ups to our Atlanta Falcons. Great game yesterday. Like I said, it's nothing like a victory Monday. But like I said, be very careful for what you wish for. All those people that are saying, hey, I want to get rid of all of these guys, I would be very careful with that. And personally, another quick thing I wanted to talk about, I've been getting a lot of people ask me, should the Falcons bring back Dirk Cutter? I feel like the Falcons should bring back Dirk Cutter. I have no problem with Dirk Cutter. I think he's doing a better job at being more balanced now. I don't agree with Matt Ryan throwing the ball 40 times a game, every single game, but he has done a better job at giving them more snaps. Like, I'm seeing this offensive line and these running backs get at least 25 snaps, 25 to 30 snaps a game, which is pretty good. So it's not much more I can ask for out of Dirk Cutter. And I just think that it's worth keeping Dirk Cutter for the stability reasons, then to go ahead and let him go and bring in another offensive coordinator where Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, they don't know the verbiage, and it'll take them time, maybe a year or two to actually get the actual game down. So that's what I definitely would do. I definitely would look at keeping Dirk Cutter. I would keep everybody on the staff because they've done a great job of turning things around. But with that being said, it's not too much more for me to talk about other than the draft up and coming. I do hope, in the draft that we do select a defensive tackle, a defensive end, and maybe an offensive guard or a player that can play guard and play center, because I don't know what Alex Mack is going to do at the end of this season, whether he's going to retire or whether he's going to come back. I hope he comes back, because Alex Mack is a Pro Bowl center, and the center is one of the best toughest positions to play, because they have to give all the communications out when it comes to blocking and all of that. The center is the main person. So I hope, that Alex Mack comes back next season, but it's no guarantee. So I definitely would look at drafting a center out of college or a guard, where even if Alex Mack does come back, he can start grooming that player while he's still here to take over that role at center. Because center is, like I said, the most the most important offensive line player, because he makes all of the checks, makes all of the calls on how to pick up blitzes and all of that. So I definitely love Alex Mack as a player, but I definitely would look at bringing in a left guard or a player that plays both sides, guard, right guard, left guard, and maybe a center, because we're really going to need a center when Alex Mack retires or Alex Mack quit. So I definitely would look into doing that. But with that being said, that's pretty much all I want to talk about in the video. Merry Christmas to everybody. We're about two days away, so Merry Christmas to you guys. Please like, please share, please subscribe to my videos. Follow me on Twitter. You can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. I love to check Falcons football with you, or talk football in general with you. I'm definitely going to be doing some videos during the playoffs. I'm going to make my playoff picks and break down the different teams in the playoffs, because I don't just know about the Atlanta Falcons, but I know about football in general, and I know about football. So I'm definitely going to be able to give y'all my breakdown of who makes it to the Super Bowl, and I'm going to break down every single game that's going to be played, tell you who I believe is going to win each game. Hopefully next year our Atlanta Falcons are in the playoffs, so I can go ahead and, I can break down, video on them, and we can talk about them a lot more. But I love my Atlanta Falcons. I love all my Dirty Birds. Love all of my fans of this page and my channel. I appreciate all y'all continued support. But like I said, big ups to those guys on the defense, on the offense, the coaching staff. I definitely think, like I said, Dan Quinn has saved his job at this point. But this has been your boy Jew. I'm going to have a video for y'all later on in the week where we're going to talk about the last game of the season, where we're going to take on those Tampa Bay Buccaneers down in Tampa. I was thinking about going to the game because I actually live in Orlando, Florida, but I don't think I'm going to be able to make this game. I know this is the last game of the season, but I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it. If I do make it, I definitely will let you guys know. So if you're at the game, you can definitely come holler at your boy, show some love. But like I said, I appreciate all you guys. Please like, share, subscribe. The goal is to make this one of the biggest Atlanta Falcons channels ever, and to give the best content to all of my Falcons fans and all of those that's that enjoys the NFL and that's fans of our Atlanta Falcons. But this been your boy Jew. I'm gonna holler at y'all in the next video. Y'all have a great week, have a great holiday, and I'll holler at y'all later on in the week. Peace.